This is not going to be the project that breaks me. Nothing in this project has been easy. It's one of those projects, if it can go wrong, it has gone wrong. And it all started because I wanted to make a Halloween costume for my daughter. I do that every year. It's fun. I enjoy it. She loves wearing the costumes. Why not? This year she kind of waffled on what it is that she wanted to be for Halloween. Understandable. She's 5. She has a lot of ideas and a lot of things that she's interested in. And eventually it came down to, I showed her, hey, look at this picture. What do you think? And she loved it. She's like, yes, I love that. That's so cool. Understandably, because she's really into fashion and really into beautiful things. And you gotta admit, in the movie Cruella, the fashion is on point. It really nails it. However, I couldn't really find a pattern. So I decided I was just going to use this pattern from Simplicity. It was on sale. Close enough. I came up with a plan of all the alterations I can do to make it a little bit more screen accurate. Doable. I can do this. Time to go shopping. We go looking for Dalmatian print, and of course, you can't find Dalmatian print. You can find cow print. You can find spots that are way too uniform for Dalmatian print, but we couldn't really find Dalmatian print. Finally, I came upon this fabric I didn't even know existed. It was a felt back satin. It was very interesting to me, and since I'm making a coat, I figured, hey, that means I wouldn't have to put a stabilizer on the inside because it already has its own kind of built in, and I can just use some of the whites and put the spots on myself. No problem. Plan. Everything's going well. So I jump right into this project. I cut out the pattern. I kind of put it on Tippy to make sure that the pattern's gonna work. And finally, do a mock-up. The mock-up, it showed where I needed to make the alterations in order to make the screen accurate version work. The neckline would have to be adjusted, various things. But overall, the fit wasn't too bad. No problem. And then, Sosteen, one of my favorite YouTubers, posted in her community page that the pattern for her kafta jacket, am I pronouncing that right? I hope her kafta? But the jacket pattern that she had talked about months ago was finally available on moodfabrics.com. So I jumped right on to get that pattern, and when I pull up the page, what's the first thing at the top of the page? The Cruella jacket. Yeah. So, change of plans. I print out all 93 pages of this pattern, tape them all together, and this thing was massive. Cut them all out, and then of course I had to shorten the skirt considerably to make it fit for a small child. From there, I cut out the bodice, fitted it to Tippy, and as you can imagine, this is a bodice that was designed for an adult woman, so it was not something that fit on a small child. More adjustments that need to be made, but altogether, not that bad. Kind of a mix between this pattern and the original pattern in order to get something that would fit a child. It's still going great. I get my mock-up done, the skirt, everything looks really good. So I felt very confident going forward, cutting out my fabric and getting a move on with this. As you can imagine, since it is half white and half black, it takes quite a bit of fabric, especially since the skirt is massive. Lots of panels for this skirt. It is not a 360 skirt, it's a 720 skirt. It's huge. So it took a lot of cutting out of all the fabric to get it going. So I cut out the white half, I cut out the black half, I make some adjustments to make it just a little bit more screen accurate. You know, I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided I was going to make it a little bit more screen accurate, woohoo. I cut out the lining. I just used a plain black cotton fabric that I already had in my stash. That was good. And I start sewing all of the pieces together. Starting off with just sewing up the white pieces and sewing up the black pieces because I didn't want to have to change my thread that often. But I figured getting each half sewn up separately was a good start. Once I get those sewn and pressed, then it was time to get started on making those spots. I had the option that I could always get a fabric marker and draw on the spots myself, but honestly that didn't sound like a whole lot of fun and it's not something I really wanted to do, so I broke out my Cricut instead. And no, this is not a sponsored video, to make the spots and iron them on. And let me tell you, that went a whole lot easier, especially once I got into the flow of things and figured out the best way to do it. So now the spots are on the bodice, on the sleeves, on the hood, on the skirt. Everything looks really good. And I start playing around with the skirt because the skirt is absolutely adorable and it's so swishy. And that's when I realized I cut them out backwards. The white is supposed to be on the right side and it was on the left side. So my options were, I could either continue knowing that I had gotten it backwards, or I could start over. I gave it a lot of thought, and considering how much it was bothering me that I had made this mistake, I knew that if I continued on with it being backwards, that when it was finished, I would not be happy with the results. I would look at it every time and go, "Ugh, I made it backwards." Just mad at myself for making it backwards, for not So it seemed like the only way forward was to go out and buy more fabric. I had enough black left over because there's less black in the skirt, but I needed more white fabric, and get the new fabric and start all over again. Well, not start over, the pattern still looks pretty good, so I don't have to redo all the mock-up and fitting and everything, but it's still rather annoying to have to go back to cutting out the fabric and re-sewing it and re-putting on all of those spots, and of course it never looks as good the second time as it does the first. So we'll see how that goes. I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful on this project that it is going to turn out well. So as you can imagine, that was nuts. That was not a fun place to be. That was not a good feeling. And it was a major setback to my plans, my goals, and what I wanted to accomplish. So instead of having a final project to leave you with this week, I've instead decided to break this video up into two parts. This first part being my whoopsie, I made a mistake mistake and get to start over video. And next week, we'll catch the video of me doing it correctly this time and creating that finished product. So until next time, hopefully I will get this done. I'll see you then.